This is an open letter to Mr. Jon Stewart. Hello, sir. How are you? Bravo. Bravo, you're a well-known man. At least, in the English-speaking world. We need to have a talk because what I know of Ted Kaczynski is that he was a guy who had an ideology. He came up with an ideology for himself. Sat in a corner and start spitballing everybody. Blowing people and shut up based on that psychology, that ideology that he has had, which was based on his psychology. The psychology created a kind of ideology based on a lot of information that he had access to. The psychology created a kind of ideology based on all the information, and he became he became Ted Kaczynski to basically be that kid in the class that is the biggest kid, or nobody knows where the kid can turn invisible and still spitball people. So, and this is what Ted Kaczynski did. He ideology, and then sitting in the corner and spitballing people. Blowing this shit up, blowing that guy up, blowing. That kind of sound like Israel. It's basically a psychopathic sociopath that has been sitting on the corner for the past 80 years and spitballing everybody in the Middle East. Blow this shit up over here, blow that shit up over there. So basically Israel has become the front line of the Western Front, the Eastern Front of the Western Empire into Asia. Imagine Vietnam. Imagine if Vietnam you didn't send soldiers. Imagine if in Vietnam you didn't send soldiers. What would have happened? Imagine you have executed Vietnam in a different way. Imagine you have executed Vietnam in a different way. Imagine you executed in Vietnam,
but also commercial-free listening. For more information.
Apparently I can't turn the fucking thing down. Imagine if Vietnam was not fought the way Vietnam was fought. Instead of sending soldiers, you send whole families. You took out 50,000 people, at random. Imagine 5 million people. Imagine you pick 5 million people at random based on their social security number. Families put together 5 million, 6 million, whatever the population of Israel is. Imagine you take 5-6 million American families and you put them in Vietnam and tell them that, okay, go ahead and fight and we will arm you as much as you want. That war would have ended up like Israel. Vietnam War, the problem was America could pull out because these are soldiers, they have a mission. Either they execute it and win, or they retreat and go home. But when you move families in, that's the whole idea behind Northern Ireland. They moved families in the British moved families, into Northern Ireland, settled them down. Okay, it's got bad weather. It's even the weather in Northern Ireland is even worse than Southern England because it's farther north. So, but still, desperate peasants. You introduce them to the land, and then you protect them by your military. It's somebody else's land, no problem. That's the thing. What happened in Americas, the Europeans settled, and while they were at the beginning, all the protection that was given to the colonialist European was by European armies, or armies, regular armies, mercenaries, whatever, with total with backing of the governments in Europe. So it's the same playbook. The playbook is not different. So what I'm trying to say is that the difference between Vietnam and Israel is Vietnam was executed by soldiers, while Israel is being executed by families. You take out 5 million Europeans, North Americans in total, 5-6 million, put them in West Asia and tell them to go fight the Asian, but with your full support. I read an article years ago in which it claimed, which sounds pretty logical, it claimed that Israelis were very, before 2001, Israelis were very pissed off. September 11th, September 11th. Before September 11th, Israelis were very pissed off of both the British, the French, the Americans, everybody, Canadians, everybody, from the white world. The Israelis were very pissed off before 9/11 because in this article it claimed that when you sit and talk to Israeli upper brass, politics, military, whatever, you find out that they are pissed at the rest of the white world because they are not stupid. They figured out that this is you're having me live in Vietnam with my wife and children, fighting the natives for ever, apparently. So stupid. Those who are not stupid or ideological. I mean, Ted Kaczynski had an ideology. How valid was his ideology? I don't know. I don't think his ideology was very valid. Things could end differently than the doom and gloom could. But the point is this. But so just because it's an ideology, you can't say it's a valid ideology. If the ideology that has put Israel together, if it was any different than Ted Kaczynski's ideology, you wouldn't show the same results as Ted Kaczynski's ideology. The Ted Kaczynski's ideology, the result was becoming very a psychopathic sociopath that sits in the corner and and starts shooting everyone, men, women, children, bing, bing, and raising a young generation into thinking that's a great idea. In the young generation of white people in Israel, thinking that's a great idea. We are doing great. We are driving back the natives. They're savages. They don't deserve this land. This land is holy and is ours. Salute. And you really look at it, you see, this ideology is so mad that basically said we have to build the next temple so the Messiah or whoever is supposed to come comes. Second temple, third temple, I lost count. Fifth temple, that piece of land has had many temples. It's been a couple of 100,000 years of temples. You got the 3,000 years ago. Let me tell you about the 12,000 years ago temple that was on that land. Anyway, I wish there was a button you could push and it would wipe all your ideologies clean. Anyway, the idea is we have to build this temple for the Messiah to come, and then when you ask them where you're building this temple, they say we have to build it on top of there, and you say, oh, there's already a building there. They say, no. We have to destroy that to build on top of it. That's the whole point of us being here. It's been 80 years that these guys have been building up, supposedly to reaching how much one demolition and construction takes. But so you have been 80 years trying, destroying the whole neighborhood until and not destroying this thing that you keep saying that you want to destroy to build your temple. For 80 years you have been sitting there, not destroying that, not building your temple. You've just been sitting in the sun catching sun and margaritas. You haven't done it because really you know it and I know it, that you don't need to build your next temple. Destroying this temple will bring Messiah. That would be the end of days, because 1/8 of the population of the planet is fucking Muslim. 1/8 of the population believes a certain kind of mumbo jumbo that believes this building is very important, and demolishing it would probably end life on earth. Because all you guys have NATO, these guys have come up with their own, because they see that white people, with the help of NATO, white people have been doing a lot of bad shit in West Asia and Africa and here and there, and apparently white people think others cannot run their business without help from white people. You guys are too stupid to run your own business. We need to come and help you run your business. You can hear it. It's like a mafia boss telling one of these store owners that is lying about how much they're making. The mafia collects the cut. Imagine that mafia boss not trusting the shopkeeper and sending his own nephew to work in the shop to have a direct hand in the tiller. That's how it is. Are you kidding me? It's sort of like everybody needs our help. Everybody needs our nephew in their stores, so we know who we have to tax. Salute. So in this article I read that the top brass in Israel are very unhappy until 2001. They were very unhappy that they're not getting any help. They realized they are Vietnam War with women and children. They're executed. And comparison, what happened in Vietnam? These channels opened from the surrounding countries in order to help their fellow Oriental against these invaders, pink skin invaders. So what happened? These channels opened to deliver ammunition and supplies to fight off the invader of our neighbor, because they're worried once their neighbor is invaded, they're going to be next. That's exactly what the Arabs are fearing. Once we give up Palestine and it's taking the refugees, then the next step is Israel is going to start taking more land from us, and apparently we have to all agree. So that's why they don't want to take any refugees, and they don't want to give up any more land to Israel. And Israel is sitting there, Israelis are sitting there with the simple people believe in that ideology. The top brass realizes that ideology is hokum. I believe you use the word. And they have realized, the top brass in Israel, that they have realized that they are fighting white man's fight on behalf of white men. They have been sent with their family and children into West Asia in order to fight for other white people. So there is this theory that 9/11 happened with help, encouragement, and support, financial or otherwise, of both Israel and some entities within the Uncle Sam's managers. They help together in order to execute 9/11, and the idea was, the structure was tempered with, this is the idea, the structure of both of the trade centers and the third building number 7, the structures were tempered with, and with one button or with one somebody starting starting the business by an explosion, sort of like lighting the fuse. Old style, remember old style fuses? Apparently, from watching movies, we all know that old style fuses, you use a match to light the fuse and then go sit back and watch the whole thing explode. And apparently the plane were used as fuses to bring heat to this process of, apparently a termite ingredient was used to cut all the pillars, really serious metal pillars of the building was inflamed. That reaction of termite was started with the heat from the fucking plane. And the building number 7, there was no plane, it still fell down because probably they had a backup switch that they planned to activate if the planes don't do the job, don't light the fuse for some reason, miss, or the fireball doesn't go as far as the central pillars, steel pillars that is holding up the whole fucking thing. To hold up that, to light that, the planes did their job. Apparently, building number 7, that there was no plane and they had a backup switch of demolishing it themselves and calling it, disintegration due to fire. A small fire was started in one of the desktops, and it brought down the whole building. You don't believe me? You must not be patriot. And they hate us for our freedom, and the educational system that brings up people so in such a simple fashion that they buy. They hate us for our freedoms. Why don't they go hate fucking Swedish for their freedom? Fucking Swedish are a lot more freer than you, believe me. so if anybody should be hated for their freedom, are the Swedish and the Hungarians. They're much more freer. Anyway, and people in Netherlands, they had, marijuana was legal in the 1990s. Anyway, my point is this. So there are a lot more centers of freedom around the world, that they could attack. Somehow they feel bad about your freedom. It's not about your freedom, it's just you had your finger up their ass for a very long time and they're annoyed. But again, that was used, their annoyance of the Arab world was played with by apparently Israelis, had a hand in it, had a thought occurred to them, because Israelis, obviously the top brass figured out that they are Vietnam, that they are fighting a never-ending war and they can't leave because an ideology was introduced to their children through in school, generation after generation. They have all grown up with this ideology, and the result of this ideology is Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu and his policies, and Israeli government for 80 years. This is their policy. It's just that now they learned that no, we don't want to do the heavy lifting of this colonial project. We're gonna do a 9/11 and bring the rest of these white people into this shit show. Send the white people into Afghanistan, send the white people into Iraq, send the white people, the rest of send the Christians. Why we're supposed to be taking all the shit? That's the thing. That's the common denominator. Is both the Eastern pink skin and the Western pink skin agree that they need to have a foothold with a big club, a friend with a big club, another white guy with a big club in the Middle East to hit the natives. Everybody, all the white people agreed that Syrians nuclear sites should be hit. All white people agreed that the Iraqi nuclear sites should be hit. Why? And all the white people agreed, but then who did the action? Israelis. So they know their place, you know their place, and the common people are sold a bunch of hogwash about the end of days. Fuck, for 80 years you've been, doing a lot of other, destroying the rest of the Middle East, because you say you want to destroy this building, Al-Aqsa, or whatever you call it, the wall. You want to build this building. For 80 years you haven't touched that building, but you have destroyed the rest of the Middle East. Having this Ted Kaczynski ideology and spitballing, blowing a shit up here, and making sure all the countries in the Middle East have a small dick, making sure, chopping up their dick as soon as the dick grows in the Middle East. Israel goes and chops it. Egypt, and metaphorically, Egypt and Jordan and Syria and Iraq, and a lot of, as long as they can chop it off with a couple of bombing raids. If it's too big and they don't want to take the risk and they don't want to take the casualties, they say Uncle Sam in to fight Iraq, because it was too big and they didn't even have a land border with Iraq. So how can I fight Iraq if I don't have a land border with Iraq? They sat down with Uncle Sam's managers and came up with 9/11. A couple of handful. The rest were sold bullshit. And the reason the bullshit sells so well, because there was an NPR personality one day I was listening to, and this was her line. She said, 9/11, what do you mean everybody should be a journalist, all citizens should be journalists? We in 9/11, if all citizens were journalists, you don't know what would have happened. We need to wait until they come and they tell us, so we can then tell people. And I'm thinking, am I talking to a fucking journalist? Am I hearing a journalist, or am I hearing a representative of government? So literally, it's the journalist who's supposed to say that, yeah, I ran in the middle of the street and I got as many interviews as I could, and all unfiltered, and I put it directly on air. Her mindset is, we had to sit and wait until the authorities do their investigation and they tell us. Okay, well, they told you. A couple of fireballs brings down a building with a steel column that is like, the size of a football field. The steel column itself is like half of a football field. And you're thinking to yourself, two flimsy aluminium planes with kerosene as fuel jet. I mean, they tell you fuel jet. When you hear fuel jet as a child, you think of something that has to be, very vaporous and very, hot burning and vaporous, and must be something even more vaporous than petroleum, gas that you put in your car. Must be much. Apparently no. Planes drive on kerosene. Kerosene is much less flammable than petroleum gas that you put in your car. Kerosene was used way back when. We used them in our heating. I remember we had a kerosene heater, and kerosene would just drop one by one, and you could actually see the drop catching fire while it's dropping, but you can see that the fire is not an explosive fire. So the whole business of the turbine, the fan, the jet, that's the whole process of atomization and heat and pressure that creates takes out all that energy out of kerosene. So kerosene drops and you set fire to it and slowly starts burning in a very calm fashion. Kerosene doesn't. So it was the flames. I'm sure they were kerosene from the plane, but that's not the kind of flame that melts, 1-inch or 2-inch I-beams that are, 1-inch or 2-inch, just the thickness of the fucking I-beams that were connected to build the central column. Kerosene cannot, create that kind of heat to melt this fucking thing just in one spot. Forget about melted so much to start collapsing one after the other. I think the planes hit, and I don't think I don't think they even acted as fuse to light up this thing. They had the fuse set up. They were just waiting for the incident to happen for them to push the demolition button. I don't think they even took the risk of bringing them down, because if this building, let me put it this way, Mr. Jon Stewart, if these buildings had actually tipped over and crushed a couple of other buildings, there would have been some legal battles and the whole thing would have been litigated to hell. So a lot of things would have come out. Investigation would have started. It didn't fall on any big dick over there. It fell on little people. The building 9/11, they fell on little people. None of these fucking buildings tipped over at any point to destroy any big dick around it. Any building that belongs to other big dicks. If that had happened, I guess that the primary concern for these people who carried this out, in my humble view, I could be wrong. This could be all a conspiracy, but I could be wrong. But, I think they didn't even leave that to chance. They were waiting for the planes to hit. I have a feeling even if the fucking Arabs would have missed and just one of the engines would have hit one of the skyscrapers, just one of tip of a wing would have hit and that building would have fallen. I'm sorry, it's not a joking matter, it's a tragedy. But because it was a setup, just like building 7, that nothing hit it and it still fell. So here's the thing, Mr. Jon Stewart. So apparently not even the tip of the wing was necessary, not even the tip of the wing was necessary to hit for building 7 to come down. Not even the tip of the wing was necessary. It just came down on its own and they said, yeah, it was a collateral damage. But if one of these buildings would have fallen, imagine 2 buildings having 2 perfect demolitions and none fell on any of the other side buildings. If it had, imagine one of them, just one of them, one would just fall straight down. Imagine the other one just falls and flattens 5 other nearby buildings. The building owners, those owners have enough money to do the litigation enough to get to the bottom of this. The little people, they gave them a handout. They said, yeah, this happened because of Osama bin Laden, and NPR read it on air. It happened because of Osama bin Laden. Until yesterday, nobody knew Osama bin Laden. Today you know. I have a feeling CIA knows exactly how many hairs I have up my ass, around my ass. The whole area, they know. They didn't know that these Arabs were training. Are you fucking kidding me? So here's the thing. I believe, I could be wrong again. I'm very sorry if I'm wrong, but I could be wrong. This was Israel's reaction. Here's another thing I read some time ago. The 6-Day War. No, this was basically a documentary piece that two writers, a man and a woman, maybe they were husband and wife, who wrote a book about the insider workings of Israel in the 80s. And in this book, what was mentioned that the Israeli top echelon of Israel is, they don't want to be the they don't want to be the GI sort of a deal in Vietnam, opening up the land for other white people, just opening up the land. This process is very bloody and messy. And exactly what happened in West Asia, all the neighboring countries to Vietnam somehow got involved because there are these branches, as I was explaining, these ways start forming. Ho Chi Minh Trail, these ways start forming of bringing supplies to, because supplies are needed and people are willing to pay for those supplies, so the supplies are going to get there. Ideology, I'm sure most of them are, kind of like read in the Gone with the Wind, is most of them are just doing it for money, but eventually supplies and ammunition will reach the front lines. Now, for example, they're blaming, before they used to blame the Iraqis for supplying arms and ammunition to these native fighters, i.e. North Vietnamese. They decided that these arms are being supplied by neighboring countries. So what happened in Vietnam? Neighboring countries became targets. Neighboring countries became targets of attacks. Cambodia, and they all went to, the same thing happened. They all went into a period of chaos. The Khmer Rouge are, are a direct result of Vietnam War. All the damage they caused. All this is clear and simple, and nobody around there got anything done there.
This is Whisperings.
And nobody else could get anything done there. The countries started, coming apart, and civil wars. Khmer Rouge again comes to mind. It's sort of like, and Laos was, I believe, bombed, and that's the same thing that is Israel doing to its neighbors, starting wars and incursions, and supporting freedom fighters in all these other countries around, in order to turn the country from running themselves to allow themselves to be run by Israel, or being scared of Israel, so they allow themselves to be run from New York, London, and Paris. That's the whole thing. Israel is the stick, and the carrot is you can come and invest your money in Wall Street. That's the carrot. You're not going to get hit by Israel if you play ball with London or New York. And New York. If you play ball with London and New York, you won't be on the receiving end of the Israeli club. That's the whole idea. Israel figured this out, and they said, no, we're not going to fight the white man's war here, other white people's war. We are white too, but we are not going to fight to open up these colonies for all the white people, European and American white people. No, we're going to do something like 9/11, or another 9/11 is coming. If Iran is supposed to happen, attacking Iran is supposed to happen, something similar to 9/11 has to happen, as far as the Israelis are concerned. Not as far as the rest of the sane world is concerned. No, as far as Israel is concerned, something like 9/11 is the only thing that we can bring the Americans in to fight the bigger one. They're going up the chain. After Iran is Afghanistan. Still the Al-Aqsa is standing. They still haven't demolished that. That was the whole point. They could have done it in a week. If the here's the thing, Mr. Jon Stewart. If they believed in what they say they believe in, that the idea is to take over the land, demolish this building, and build the next temple, and then the Messiah will come. Dude, we have corporations in this world that they can do that. I swear to God, I'm passing by McDonald's that I think it was in perfect working condition, but they demolished it and they're building it, and it's been a week. There's a McDonald's in my way where I go and come back, that within a week, private corporation, within a week, they started demolishing it on Monday, imagine, and it's Friday and the walls are up of the next building. So I think they could have blown up Al-Aqsa and built a second, third, fourth, fifth temple in a matter of 2 weeks in Israel, in Palestine. And I guess Messiah would have come in 2 weeks. It's been 80 years and nobody's touched the building. The people who say we are here to touch the building never touched the building. In fact, it's open to the Muslims. Well, aren't you there for that job? Messiah is supposed to come. If supposed to come, let's bring it tomorrow. Demolish, and they don't. The reason they don't do it is they know that's just a hook. For 80 years, they haven't demolished the efficient Israeli people. For 80 years, this building is standing. You have demolished everything else in the Middle East, but that building is still there. Oh, please go ahead and demolish that building. Leave the rest of the Middle East around. If your Messiah is supposed to come, demolish that fucking building. Build you whatever you need to build, but you want the Messiah. The Messiah is going to come and not let you build the next building. Because World War III will start as soon as you demolish that building. Probably. If it's not going, if World War III is not going to stop, then okay, fine, demolish it. Or I guess you have to demolish it either way. If this is the purpose of existence of Israel, is to demolish that building and build a temple, it's been 80 years. Why aren't they doing it? These efficient, intelligent, smart people, why aren't they building the temple? They have demolished everything else in the Middle East. Everybody, all the Arabs should be kept on their knees in front of Israel. And Israel is holding their gun on top of this building. It's like, if you don't bend down, I'm going to shoot the building. Oh, please shoot the building up. You got 500 million people hostage in West Asia, and you keep threatening the building. Fucking do the building, let's see your Messiah. No, you don't want apparently to destroy that building. You want to keep it. You just want to build a Riviera. You want to bring New Jersey in Europe, in Asia. It's sort of like, no, I'm going to let you keep that fucking building, but we are here and we need more land. Why don't you take that land that you're here for? The mosque, destroy it, build your temple. But you might just offend 500 million Muslims and their allies, and a couple of billion of their allies. You certainly piss off 1 billion Muslim. That's 1/8 of the population of the planet. So your Messiah, has to come before build. He's not going to get to the second temple. That Messiah will come as soon as you destroy what the Muslims have. But let's do it. Let's do it. Because this is hostage taking. At one point, even the hostage says, "You know what? Just shoot me." At one point, the hostage has had enough. Imagine being a hostage, being kidnapped and kept for 20 years, and still you don't know when you're going to get out. That's why a lot of prisoners, not Jeffrey Epstein, not after a week in jail, but a lot of prisoners after many years in jail and not knowing when they're going to get out. Many, I am assuming, they are, prone to commit suicide. But if there is no hope, I think Jeffrey Epstein kept a lot of hope by keeping those pictures. And I think those few pictures that we have seen, all from Mr. Clinton and the British cocksucker Andrew, all the pictures I think those are the few pictures that was released by Maxwell herself. It was as a warning. I understand she had these pictures on her phone and she went into hiding and she started sending these few pictures. I'm sure she has hours of pictures, but I think she sent those pictures as a warning so the authorities would stop looking for her, which eventually they found her and they shut her up and took away all the information she had. But I think she didn't send it even out for herself. She sent it out while Jeffrey was incarcerated, and he and she sensed that this time it's going to get serious. And as a warning, I think Maxwell had hid herself and started sending out those few pictures that everybody has seen. She started sending out those few pictures that everybody has seen, and then the authorities caught up with her to prevent her from releasing any more. So here's the thing, sir. This is a snake eating its own tail. You have sent Israelis in to dig deep into Asia. Ted Kaczynski-like ideology should not be given the control over a large stockpile of weapons and non-ending supply of arms. Now, I mean, if you understand this, if you understand that this is where it is, where it's at. Israelis have become they have this, you can say, a rabid ideology that is very destructive, but at the same time they are not executing the final mission of that ideology for some reason, but they are happy to grab other land in that region. Sort of like, we are here to destroy this building and bring the Messiah, but meanwhile we are going to build Riviera. Why? And you can see the duplicity in this. I'm sure you can see it. I can see it. Dumb bastard like me, I can see the duplicity in this. If you're here to destroy this building and bring the Messiah, please do so and stop hitting Baghdad. What Baghdad has got to do with the damn thing? Anyway, it's sort of like, you do your thing, you're there for the building, right? Why are you killing the kids? Destroy the building. Anyway, salute. So here's the thing, Mr. Jon Stewart, giving the keys to these people that we already know they're duplicitous with a Ted Kaczynski-like personality, psychopathic sociopaths who want to just get rid of people in that region. Either kill them or push them out, kill them or push them out, kill them or push them out. And they're duplicitous because they're not destroying that building to build their temple. It's been 80 years. It can be done in 2 weeks by McDonald's measures. In 2 weeks, a building is destroyed and another one built already on top of it, if you know, if you want it. 80 years. So my point, and 80 years that you have put the rest of that neighborhood, if it's for this building, why are you putting the rest of the neighborhood into hell? Build the building and let's see what happens. Whatever has to happen, happens. You know, the hostage at some point, that the wrongfully incarcerated, at some point, yes, they will, after many years, they give up hope and they will take their own life. These are the hostages. It's like President of Egypt is a hostage. The fucking Jordanian king is a hostage. Assad, he ran free and they shot him. They tried to shoot him, so he ran to Russia. For what, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years he was under sanction because the white people from Northern Hemisphere wanted to shoot him. He was no longer carrying favors for white people. Saddam stopped carrying favors and they shot him, hung him. The Saudis, they're happy to carry favors because it's one family and they're rich as hell. So as long as you let us live and we are rich, we are willing to carry your orders. Salute. That's why the Saudi family who rules Saudi Arabia cannot be trusted as far as the Middle Eastern is concerned. Or none of these sheikdoms can be trusted because they have carried a lot of favors for white people from Europe. The foreign, I think it was the ex-foreign minister of Oman or Qatar, ex-foreign minister, and in a documentary I heard he said that every year we go and see the Queen, you know, quietly, and we go see the government in England, and basically he was saying we get our marching orders. Every year we go and have a visit and see what the future holds for us. They're literally governors for the British. They're governing the land for the British. Saudis, also the British, the Americans, whoever, white people. They're governing the land for white people. It's just one family, the Saudi family. It's just one family owns the whole fucking piece of land. Anyway, so they're making decisions, and that's why supposedly 9/11 happened. 9/11 supposedly, with these, you know, oafish Arabs, 9/11 happened supposedly because, you know, the Saudi family, to stay in power and on top of the wealth, they're willing to give many concessions because, you know, it's a very selfish society, Saudi Arabia. So they agreed with white people having military bases on Saudi Arabia itself as a colony, and they were happy with it because they get to keep their crown and money as stay rulers. But the rest of Saudi Arabia apparently didn't agree, and supposedly what they consider desecration of the Holy Land. It's not a desecration of the Holy Land. They're fucking natives. They don't want to be a colony. Having US military bases up their ass, any country feels like a colony, as it should. Filipino is no longer Filipino since election of Bongbong Marcos with the help of CIA. Filipino stopped being an independent country and has turned back into a colony because it hosts 5 US military bases in Filipino. 5. Does Filipino have it? So this is not an alliance. Alliance means Filipino has some military bases inside the United States. Does it? Sure not. I'm sure they don't. So this is not an alliance. Filipino just went because they had democracy, and democracy is always open to anybody who is willing to spend a lot of money. The more you buy democracy, you buy candidates. Zelensky, Bang Marcos, Zelensky. They're both handpicked by, intelligence agencies of the West in order to carry out some Western agenda. Yeah, you can call it conspiracy, but, when you see the results, you understand that it can't be a conspiracy, because every time a certain group of people win from this. Here's how you can say, we say there's no coincidences, Mr. Jon Stewart. They say there's no coincidences. That is true. That is very much true. I read in another article that the 6-day war wasn't the top brass of Israeli government behind closed door admit that the 6-day war did not start by the Arabs. It started by the Israelis. Yes, all the history books say that Arabs attacked Israel in the 6-day war. No, it was Israelis. And it was with complete knowledge and backing of United States and England and France, the same people. All the white colonial states. Well, all white states who consider colonization as a very acceptable means of spreading your influence. Salute. So I'm sorry, Mr. Jon Stewart, at one point, somebody like you have to come out and say, hey, I'm going to put on a Palestinian tie as a young Ashkenazi. I'm going to put on a young Palestinian tie and not take it off until this issue is resolved. Sort of like Mr. Trump never takes off the red tie. Recently I've seen him with a couple of blue tie, but red tie is his trademark. I think you, as a conscious man of Ashkenazi origin, if you don't agree with this Ted Kaczynski kind of idea, colonial kind of idea, this following an ideology, because Haaretz, Israeli newspaper just, I read an article that apparently there is some genetic basis for Ashkenazis to have some psychopathic personality. Apparently there is a genetic, just like there is a lactose intolerance between the Ashkenazi. Apparently this antisocial or psychopathic and sociopathic personalities apparently is dominant in Ashkenazi folks. And this is the reason, and you don't even need to follow that. This is what they're doing. A very, anti-human kind of ideology based on an ideology that they don't even want to execute. The ideology says, destroy temple, destroy mosque, build temple. It's been 80 years. You're just about to destroy a country 3,000 miles away from you, 3,000 kilometers or 3,000 miles, I don't know. The distance between Israel and Iran. They're 3,000 miles away. You're just about to destroy that country, but you haven't destroyed this mosque that you're supposed to destroy and build your temple. Why? That is being left, everybody else has been destroyed. Are you kidding me? So it's very simple. Somebody like you should wear a tie like me and say, this is my ideal situation, that this should be resolved. This is my ideal situation. Your ideal situation, with considering your Ashkenazi roots, if you really don't believe in this, you really have to put on like Mr. Trump put on a Palestinian tie and don't take it off until the issue is resolved. As a well-known man who's on TV a lot, or on the screen a lot, and a lot of people see you and believe in you, you got to put on a Palestinian tie and say, I'm not going to take this fucking thing off until the fucking issue is resolved. Just like Trump. Great idea. Trump put on the red hat. Red, and you know, he kept it there until he got in and until his issue is resolved. And you're the guy to do it because the conservative, apparently, you know, they have been taught this in church for some reason, that this is the right way to go, and it's not going to come out. The real flag bearer for this should be the left, who are, you know, you think you keep talking about transgender equality on your land. Okay, maybe now. Okay, gay equality in your land. Okay, but there is no human equality over there, which is actually connected to you because of your roots. Over there, humans are treated as animals, you know, chickens. I understand, you know, chickens don't have any legal protection. Apparently, this is some kind of code that the federal or states have come up with, that all other animals have some kind of a, you know, legal protection, except against cruelty and this and that. But apparently, chickens don't qualify. So apparently the Palestinians over there are chickens and the rules don't apply. You know, the rules against cruelty to animals apparently applies if you have a horse or a cow or a sheep, if mistreated, and, you know, authorities can come and, you know, slap you on the hand and tell you not to mistreat. But apparently chickens are immune, and apparently the Palestinians are considered chickens. Well, you can kill them, you can save them, whatever you feel like it. And by your silence means you're, I think the word is condoning this. It's sort of like, well, maybe do it less, you know, chill less. And not the idea that we are here to destroy this mosque, build a temple, and then not do it for 80 years, meanwhile kill a lot of people there, destroy a lot of things over there. And you're the face of this. The Ashkenazi, the Jewish people in general, but the Ashkenazi in specific, has become the face of this. And whatever the other white people do it, they say we do it to save the Ashkenazi. So again, you're taking the blame of a very colonial idea. You're the face of a very colonialist, dirty idea, and at the end you're going to take the bad rap for it. I think enough is enough. I think somebody like you and senators should start wearing, you know, tie as a means of protest. You know, if the senators continue have to say that they are for Israel, maybe in another way they can start showing their protest that they're not really for Israel. It's just because they're paid, their city is paid by the Israelis. They have to be for Israel. That's like, in the old colonial sense, imagine the 13 colonies somehow had influence in the British Parliament. I'm sure they did. The 13 colonies had influence in the British Parliament. I'm sure they did. Now imagine the influence of 13 American colonies be so much in British Parliament and on the British King, that the British stopped feeding their people, taking care of their health care or housing or education, just kept on sending money and ammunition to the 13 colonies. If that was the case, I don't think the colonies would have broken free. The problem was the British was pulling a lot of money out of the colonies. You see what I'm saying? Americans are not taking a lot of money out of Israel. Absolutely zero. I'm not saying that that is the solution. I'm saying at least that would be, you know, some kind of a equation. You don't even have an equation. You keep sending money, and this colony is supposed to make you some money at some point. Yes, it's keeping the Arabs under the barrel of the gun, so the Arabs are forced to invest in Wall Street and London Stock Exchange and pay an extortion to white people in order to not be the next target of Israel. Yes, but do you see the suffering that you're creating, the poverty that you're creating, and then you're going to be on the receiving end of a lot of Arabs, which has been the case. Now go attack Iran and you're going to be on the receiving end of a lot of Iranians, just like you have been on the receiving end of a lot of Ukrainians. You keep inflaming those areas, and you should be expecting a lot of people from those areas becoming your neighbors. If you don't like them, stop blowing shit up there and bring Ted Kaczynski home. Put him under 24-hour watch. Bring the Israelis to Texas and give a city to them. Give a big piece of land in Texas to the Israelis and put them under 24-hour surveillance. Because these people have, you know, some crazy ideas. They have Harat says, psychopathic personalities, which leads to a sociopathic outcome, like Ted, and give the results that Ted Kaczynski was producing. You have to, you have to declare something, Mr. Jon Stewart. This is not going to end ever. It's been 80 years. So. Hey, I'm not Jewish from tomorrow. I am from tomorrow. I'm a Buddhist, and here's my Palestinian tie, keffiyeh or whatever they call it, or a Palestinian flag around my neck until this issue is resolved within the next 6 months. And the resolution is quite simple, Mr. Jon Stewart. You keep saying they want annihilation of Israel. No, they want desegregation of Israel. Open up the doors, let bygones be bygones. Open up the door and tell everybody to go back to their land that they belong to, and open up some kind of civil courts to take care of, civil claims, criminal claims, civil claim, whatever. That's the solution, desegregation. You tried it in America and it was successful, somewhat. It's better than shooting at each other from behind walls. Can you imagine? The United States had a bunch of Gazas which black people lived in, and it was under total 24-hour surveillance of white people. And from time to time, the white people went in and mowed down black people and called it mowing the lawn. Can you imagine?